Hi there everyone, this is Laura Brown. I'm going to explain to you what is included in this 2-hour exclusive training that I'm offering. The training is on winning regional and independent partnership and sponsorship strategies for the independent entrepreneur. So today, the independent entrepreneurs who are really doing a great job of gaining large partners for their projects, gaining sizable cash sponsors and cross-promotional sponsors for their events and their products and their creations. They all know a few things about how this market has changed over the last few years. And on this 2-hour training that I've put together, we're actually going to look at these guys' blueprints for setting up these creations and events and properties, and how they actually go about attracting and winning large sponsorships and large partnerships and large collaborative promotions for their creations. That's exactly what we're going to be looking at in this training. There are so few people using partnership and sponsorship strategically to really launch into the marketplace that they're in a big way, that someone who knows and understands how to actually leverage the power that is contained in their industry's top collaborators, non-profits, businesses, media and companies, and they leverage that to fund their creations up front. So before the creations happen, before the creations are to market, if you're creating a book, before you publish the book, there's a whole way to fund that book's authorship and writing and publication and marketing with upfront capital, without selling out to a group of venture capitalists or investors. You can do this with events, you can do this with DVDs, you can do this with tours. You can get paid up front before you even have your product to market or your event on sale publicly, and you can retain 100% ownership and command of your own creations while you're doing this. This is the power and the potential and the opportunity behind leveraging strategic partnerships and cross promotions and sponsorships for your creations. They can really change everything. What I find most entrepreneurs like to do, instead of seeking sponsors for their creations, and in part this is because they don't believe that anybody would sponsor them, in part this is because they don't understand the sponsor model and they think, you know, having your event sponsored would mean having some horrible corporate logo all over all of your stuff, and that's just not the case. So instead of really exploring this option for strategic sponsorship and partnership of their creations, they usually end up, you know, finding that they can't completely bankroll their creations independently. So instead they'll go ahead and do things like throwing themselves at the mercy of angel investors or venture capitalist firms, and even going and getting a job. And all of this basically complicates the manner in which their creations are supposed to come to fruition so much, because all of a sudden there's all of these other factors in the creative process. And if you talk to anyone, any event director, a web developer, a writer, an artist, you'll find that the only way that these people ever seem to successfully get their creations out to the universe is if they really manage to dedicate and devote a whole chunk of time to the sole purpose of creating their products and events. So when you add things like an employer to that mixture, or angel investors that you have to go and have meetings with, what happens is that creation process doesn't get the immersive attention that a true creator knows that it deserves. And consequentially, 99% of these visions never get to fruition and they never get funded, because they just simply don't have the upfront capital and investment to actually fuel the creative process all the way through to market. And even worse, a lot of entrepreneurs today are actually out there creating their products and events in advance, actually bankrolling and shelling out the money they don't really have to spend. And they use this money out of their own pockets to rent space for their events and pay for advertising and things like that. And these are all things that sponsors and partners can actually do for you. If you roll in a couple of sponsorships and partnerships in advance, it can save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in upfront costs. It can leverage the marketing budgets that you do have, and even literally take the place of a lot of advertising that you would have been spending your own money on. This is really the direction that you need to be headed in a smart and strategic way in order to get upfront capital for your creations. Learning how to attract and sell sponsors on your creations is absolutely for everybody. This isn't something that only someone with a background in sponsorship and partnership and corporate relations and things like that can do. It's really a lot easier than you think, and most of the people who are using these strategies successfully today, they're not rocket scientists. They're just like you and me. And in fact, in this training, most of the success stories that we're going to hear about and emulate are actually from the healing arts industry. These guys are yoga teachers and meditation instructors and wellness experts and authors, even musicians and creative writing professors. These are the guys that we're going to be looking at. These are the stories we're going to see of a successful sponsorship strategy implemented and really rolled out successfully in the marketplace. They're all going to be from right-brained creatives, because I want you to really understand that this is something that you can do. You can figure out how to do sponsorship just like these guys have. So those are the examples we're going to be using. I'm going to give you a little bit of background just on my own exploration of the sponsorship and partnership markets. I actually started out just a few years ago, back in 2009. That was the first year that I ran the Flagstaff Yoga Festival. We're still running the Flagstaff Yoga Festival today. We just had our 5th year, and I'm still directing it as an independent sole proprietor. And back in 2009, I was worried about all kinds of things, and the main worry I had that was really pressing in my mind was that nobody would actually buy tickets to the festival. I was really, really worried about this. And one of the reasons I didn't think it was going to be attractive to anyone was I was renting a local Waldorf school to put on the event, and the only places that I had ever associated seeing sponsorship done well in the event management world and the event directing world was actually, you know, the big shiny glitzy conference room events and the big conference center events. Those were really the only events that I had seen sponsorship allocated to. So for some reason in my mind, because I was having my event at a local little Waldorf school, I thought that my event was unsponsorable, but I was really, really wrong. In that first year, I pulled off a very sweet grassroots yoga festival, and it felt very independent, totally not corporate. But even with this really different feel to a yoga event that I had managed to create, I still managed to partner with some amazing sponsors and nonprofit partners. I partnered with Horizon Airlines that first year. I partnered with the Los Angeles Times and the Radisson Hotel. I did an amazing partnership with the Western Regional NPR Radio Network and the Western States Public Radio Silent Auction. That was amazing. The local paper gave me more exposure than I'd ever dreamed possible, and I had a ton of exposure from some magazines with a distribution even just locally in northern Arizona of over 30,000 people. And on top of all of that, I managed to partner with the Sierra Club, and their Arizona following was just an amazing partnership for me that year. They actually sent out an email about Flagstaff Yoga Festival for me to their local list, their statewide list of over 25,000 members. And getting that email out to those members didn't cost me anything because I had a partnership agreement with Sierra Club. The festival completely took off, and so right out of that gate, in the very first year, with just me and a cell phone and a handful of volunteers, we had such a successful first event because of all of these partnerships and sponsorships. We found ourselves with an attendance of over 1,000 people. And that was just our inaugural event. And these were, people who came to a festival where the ticket prices were between $150 and $300 a head. And I credit the success and the overwhelming attendance of that first festival completely to my partnerships and sponsorships. And I'm going to show you why in this 2-hour training. So the strategies that I've evolved in the last 3 or 4 years are very custom strategies, and they're really created with the independent healing arts entrepreneur in mind. And I now do partnerships with all sorts of other groups for other products and events. And over the last 3 or 4 years also, a lot more has become possible as far as sponsorship goes, because we now have this hugely more lucrative and developed social media marketplace to dive into for our marketing. And the other thing that has absolutely taken off in the last 3 or 4 years since I started has been the world of crowdfunding. And I'm going to show you a really neat way to integrate sponsorship and partnership strategies even into crowdfunding campaigns on this training. Overview for you of what we're going to be covering in this partnership and sponsorship gaining training. You're going to learn the secrets of how your industry's most successful entrepreneurs got their first large sponsors and promotional partners. You're going to learn the genius partnership blueprint that we're going to give you, and how to custom create from that blueprint your own blueprint to follow through for your own endeavors, and how to get sponsors and partnerships for your creations. We're also going to give you the tools, the templates, and the resources that successful entrepreneurs who've already done large partnership and sponsorships have at their disposal. And these guys keep these tools and resources and templates handy so that they can efficiently and easily dial in massive partnerships and cash sponsors and cross promotions to make their creations wildly successful. And then you're also going to learn the most innovative and successful partnership strategies that could absolutely quadruple your database, your event attendance, or product purchases within a matter of weeks after taking this class. The class is only 2 hours. It's mainly video content. You'll be listening to my voice and looking at slides while we go through this together. And in that format, you're also going to see the case studies. And you're also going to get a PDF worksheet for you to follow along with, and you'll get that before the class so you can follow along with it, and you can even print it out, which would be what I would recommend. This is absolutely a great training for just about any entrepreneur with any level of experience. If you're a day job working dreamer and all of your creations are still in that dream stage, that's great. And if you're a serial entrepreneur and you've got a lot of technical skills and a lot of experience in the online market space, you're going to get a lot of training out of this as well, because I bet you're not using partnership and sponsorship strategies the way that we're going to be teaching them today. Now, even the best marketers in their industries today rarely seem to have effective partnership strategies in play in their business plans. So the cool thing here, especially if you're brand new, is what you're going to take away from this training could actually allow you to soar completely past your seasoned competitors who've been in the marketplace for a long time, because you're going to be using sponsorship and partnership to get massive reach for your projects right away. You're going to be playing in a completely different ballpark. So I hope you'll sign up for the 2-hour training. It's not going to be here forever. I'm excited to get started, and I'll see you in class.